Okay, good morning, students. So, I guess all are present except one or two, right? Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay, fine. Okay. So, in continuation to the practicals, last time we did the PCR. So today we are going to start up with the serological detection, where we will discuss about the ELISA. So I'm sure you all must have studied about this technique in the earlier classes, that what is ELISA about and how it is being done. So I'll tell you the types of ELISA that we use, and then we'll also discuss the what are the benefits and the shortcomings of the different types of the ELISA, and then what are the protocols basically that we follow. So in the end, I'll ask you to write a practical for the detection of some virus. Based on, you can choose any protocol, you can choose a direct or an indirect protocol, and on that basis you can submit it later, right? So serological detection, when we talk enzyme linked immunosorbent assays, right, these are very commonly used, and in plants they were first done by Clarks and Adams, and before that they were already introduced for the detection in animal or human viruses, they were being done, right? So this is a plate based assay technique which is designed for detecting and quantifying soluble substances such as peptides or proteins or antibodies or a hormone. So we use it for the detections as an antigen also. In viruses, for example, we want to detect whether a particular virus is present in a particular sample or not. So we already have some commercial available antibodies against those virus, and that virus will act as an antigen. So those antibodies will be able to detect the antigen if that virus is present in the particular sample, right? So there are different ways for that. There are different substrates are being used for the detection, which are a color reaction at the end is given, and then we take a optical density is being taken at a different wavelength to detect the virus, or what could be the concentration of the virus that can be done at the end, right? So we have some ELISA readers which come and we just put directly the plate there, and they'll at the end they'll give a optical density of those wells in which the sample is being loaded, and we'll get to know that which sample is a positive, which is negative. So and when we do ELISA protocol in the lab, so we make sure we have some positive control and we have some negative controls also, right? So we can compare our results with the positive and a negative control both. So usually what we do, ELISA in a triplicate, like for one sample we'll pour three wells, so it is reading is being taken in a triplicate, and at the end we take an average of the three wells reading that we get. And usually how we calculate the reading, that the reading should be at least two time or a three time higher than the negative control, or somewhere equal to the positive control. So this is how we calculate at the end that how the reading will come, right? So other names such as enzyme immunoassay, they are also used to describe the similar technology that we use here. Sorry for that. So in ELISA, the antigen, which we call antigen, which is the target macromolecule, is immobilized on a solid surface. So that solid surface is basically ELISA plate or a micro plate, we call it as, right? It is made up of a polystyrene. And then it is complexed with the antibody, which is linked to a reporter enzyme. So then detection is if there is a some kind of a interaction, if antibody is able to bind the antigen, so due to which, because it is linked to an enzyme, there's an enzyme conjugate on the antibody, and then we'll add some substrate at the end for the detection. So if there's some kind of an interaction there, so substrate will give a color reaction, which we can measure in the ELISA reader, or visually also we can see, if we don't have ELISA reader, that what is kind of a color we are getting as compared to the negative control. So that can give us the idea whether the virus is present or not. Then the most crucial point is that antibody antigen interaction. So antibodies should be specific to the viruses or antigen that we are talking about. So specific antibodies which are being developed and raised are being used in the detection method. Again, this is a important method for detecting and quantify a specific protein in a complex mixture. And 73, I guess, Clark and Adams used in plant, but before that, it was described by Engvall and Perlman in 1971, right, for the analysis of protein sample immobilized in the microwell plates using specific antibodies. So these are usually performed in a 96 well way plate, but if we have a very large number of the sample, could be a 384 well polystyrene plates also. So which passively bind antibodies and the protein. So it is this binding and immobilization of the reagents that makes ELISA easy to design and perform. So it is a sometimes it depends on the procedure so and the incubation that we are using. So it we can complete this protocol in a one day also, but if in one day we are not able to complete, then the certain incubation steps can be changed, and overnight we can keep it in the refrigerator, and then next day we can perform the next other steps. So yes, so having the reactants of the ELISA, which are immobilized to the microplate, make it easy to separate bound from the non-bound material. So what happens? See, the ELISA plate we put our so there are two types of method, direct and indirect methods also. Sometimes we put a sample which has an antigen first, and that binds to the those polystyrene plates. Or sometimes in some processes we put the antibody first and then we put the sample. So it totally depends on the protocol that we are following. So what happens that we put the sample and then we put the antibody, right? Then the specific binding will take place between the antigen and the antibody. Then after each step, certain washing steps are being performed, because there will be some non-bound material also which will be present there, and which can give us some background noise in the reaction in the result. So we need to remove that. So we do another step or additional step, which is called a blocking step also, right? So that will block the unbound places in the that microtiter plate, and then again a washing step is being done. So there are a number of steps which are being done in the ELISA, and after each step, washing that to 3 times with the PBST buffer, phosphate buffer, saline, or sometime we add a 2 in 20 to that also. So that washing is very properly required to be done. So this ability to use high affinity antibodies and wash away non-specific bound materials make ELISA a powerful tool for measuring specific analytes within a crude preparation. Although many variants of ELISA have been developed and used in a different situation, but then the basic elements, these are the basic 4 steps in the ELISA that are being performed: coating or a capture. So direct or indirect immobilization of antigens to the surface of a polystyrene microtiter. So direct and indirect means, direct means we are coating the antigen directly to the polystyrene plate. Indirect means we are coating those plates with the antibody, and then we are putting the antigen on that. Then a plate blocking. So addition of some any irrelevant protein. It could be sometime we use sometime those powder milk also comes. It's a protein, right? So we add some irrelevant protein or other molecule to cover all unsaturated surface binding site of the microplate. After that, then there is a probing and a detection. So after that, we incubate with the antigen specific antibodies that bind to the antigens. Then detection of the signal is generated by direct, or this I'll discuss that what is direct. Sometimes enzyme is conjugated directly to the primary antibody or the antibody that we use, or sometimes we use a secondary antibody, and which is the enzyme label, right? So detection of the signal is generated by the direct or secondary tag, which is on the specific antibody, right? So most okay, then the substrate, what kind of substrate that we use? The most enzyme labels are horseradish peroxidase and alkaline phosphatase that we use, and there are certain other enzymes also that we use, but most commonly HRP and ALP are the commonly used. So choice of the substrate, again they depend on the required assay sensitivity and the instrumentation available for the signal detection. For example, this alkaline phosphatase and this HRP can be used through a spectrophotometer. For other, we might require a fluorometer or some other specialized equipment to measure the signal. So ELISA formats. If we talk about ELISA formats, there are direct ELISA, there is an indirect ELISA, and there is a sandwich ELISA. So we commonly use 3 types of the format: direct, indirect, and sandwich ELISA. So there are several formats used: direct, indirect, sandwich, capture, and detection methods. The key step is important steps still lie in the immobilization of the antigen of interest, which is accomplished by direct adsorption to the assay plate or indirectly via capture antibody. So sometimes we add a capture antibody and then we add the antigen, and then a secondary antibody is being added. Antigen is then detected either directly through a labeled primary antibody or indirectly, such as if our primary antibody is not labeled, then we use a secondary antibody which is labeled with the enzyme conjugate. So most widely used format is the sandwich ELISA format, where it indirectly immobilize and indirectly detect the presence of the target antigen. So this type of assay is called a sandwich assay because the analyte which we require to measure is or antigen is bound between two primary antibodies, each detecting different epitope of the antigen, the capture antibody and the detection antibody. So the sandwich ELISA format is used because its sensitivity and specificity is better than the other formats that we use. So you can see here, there's a direct assay, there's an indirect assay. So in the direct assay, we can see there's an antigen which is being coated on the plate. Then we have a primary antibody conjugate, which is conjugated to the enzyme, and then substrate is being added for the signal. In the indirect assay, there is again antigen coated, then we have a primary antibody, and then we have a secondary antibody which is labeled to the enzyme conjugate, and then we add a substrate, right? So capture assay, in the sandwich, we add first the capture antibody and then the antigen, then primary antibody and a secondary antibody which is linked to the enzyme conjugate. So different formats are being used. It totally depends upon the choice of the people or our that which process is more standardized for which kind of a virus. So direct versus indirect detection strategies. So among the standard assay formats discussed and illustrated, we have differences in both capture and detection were concerned. So it is important to differentiate between the particular strategies that exist specifically for the detection step. So irrespective of the method by which antigen is captured on the plate, either by the direct adsorption or through by the capture antibody, it is the detection step as either direct or indirect detection that largely determines the sensitivity of the ELISA assay. So the direct detection method uses a primary antibody which is labeled with a reporter enzyme tag that reacts directly with the antigens, right? So direct detection can be performed with the antigen which is directly immobilized on the plate and with the capture assay format also. So direct detection, while not widely used in ELISA, is quite common for a immunohistochemistry. Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, there's a lot of network issue today. I mean, Wi-Fi is just very poor. So please just be there in the team. I'll join back if there's some such issue, right? So the indirect detection method, they uses labeled secondary antibody or a biotin streptavidin complex for amplification and is the most popular form of the ELISA that we use. So secondary antibody has also specificity for the primary antibody. So in sandwich ELISA, it is very important that secondary antibody is specific for the detection of the primary antibody only and not for the capture antibody, or the assay will not be specific for the antigen. So what is प्राइमरी एंटीबॉडी एंड व्हाट इज सेकेंडरी एंटीबॉडी, कोई बताएगा मुझे? आपने इम्यूनोलॉजी में या कहीं पे कुछ पढ़ा हो? एनीथिंग, एनी आइडिया अबाउट व्हाट इज प्राइमरी एंटीबॉडी एंड व्हाट इज सेकेंडरी एंटीबॉडी, इफ एनीवन नोज? No, okay, fine. I'll tell you. See, so how do we raise primary antibody? It is raised against the antigen. That, like, for example, I want to detect a prunus nephrotic ring spot virus. So that I'll use the antibody. Primary antibody will be the antibody which is raised against that prunus nephrotic ring spot virus, right? So primary antibody is raised against the antigen, which represent the interest that which we want to detect. So there should be a unique antigen which should be used that potentially there's no cross reactivity to the primary antibodies with the other target. So primary antibody binds directly to the target, right? So what is secondary antibody then? Secondary antibody binds to the primary antibody but not to the target. So secondary antibody binds to the primary antibody but not to the antigen that we want to detect. So secondary antibodies, they bind to the heavy chains of the primary antibody so that they do not interfere with the primary antibody binding to the target. So this antibody is made in species which is different than those of the primary antibody or the specimen, right? So this is why there's a primary antibody and there's a secondary antibody. So why we use a two antibody, right? So see, antibody is required for different applications, could be Western blotting also or immunofluorescence also, right? But using a same primary antibody in multiple different assays often requires a secondary antibody. So primary antibody will detect the antigen, but secondary antibody will have some enzyme or a fluorophore which will which will be attached for its purpose of a visualization, right? That can bind to the primary antibody. So this is how we use the two types of antibodies. Then generally this is achieved by using a capture and a primary antibodies from different host species, like I told you, maybe a mouse IgG or a rabbit IgG respectively. So for sandwich assay, it is beneficial to use a secondary antibody that has been cross adsorbed to remove any secondary antibodies that might have affinity for the capture antibodies. Then these are the comparison of a direct ELISA and indirect ELISAs and advantages and disadvantages. So if we talk about direct ELISA detection, its advantages are it is very quick because only one antibody is there and steps are less, because when we use secondary antibodies, the number of the steps they increases, and also the cross reactivity, if could be due to the secondary antibody, it is eliminated. So the less cross reactivity will be there. Disadvantages, if we talk about the immunoreactivity of the primary antibody, might be adversely affected by the labeling with the reporter enzymes of the type, because we are directly labeling the enzymes or a tag to the primary antibody. So labeling primary antibody for each specific ELISA system is again a time consuming and expensive process. So limited number of conjugated primary antibodies are available commercially. So no flexibility in choice of primary antibody label from one experiment to other, and minimal signal amplification. So this somewhere the signal is also not very good in these kind of the ELISA methods. Then if we talk about indirect ELISA detection, then advantages, a wide variety of labeled secondary antibodies are available commercially that can be used. Versatile, because many primary antibodies can be made in one species and the same labeled secondary antibody can be used for the detection also. So maximum immunoreactivity of the primary antibody is retained because it is not labeled. We are using the secondary antibody which is being labeled. Sensitivity is increased because each primary antibody contains number of epitopes that can be bound by the labeled secondary antibody, which allows for a signal amplification. Different detection methods can be used with the same primary antibody, also like clerometric method or a chemiluminescent method, it can be used there. But what are the disadvantages? Would be the cross reactivity is the only or major disadvantage which might occur with the secondary antibody, that can lead towards some non-specific signals also. And process increases because when we are adding a secondary antibody, incubation step will increase, then the one washing step will also increase, so this will make somewhere the process lengthy. Then we have a sandwich ELISA. So sandwich ELISA is a very sensitive and very specific for a target antigen. So in case of a plant viruses also, we mainly prefer to use the sandwich ELISA, right? A disadvantage, it requires more optimization to identify the antibody that pairs and to ensure that there is a limited cross reactivity between the capture and the detection antibody. So that is one disadvantage, and that is to be, beforehand carefully looked into. Then there are some other formats known as competitive ELISA. So the competitive ELISA is basically used when we have a very small antigen and has only one epitope or antibody binding site. So one variation of this method consists of a labeling. What they do, they label purified antigen instead of the antibody. So unlabeled antigen from samples and the labeled antigen, they'll compete for the binding to the capture antibody. So if there is a decrease in signal from the purified antigen, it indicates the presence of the antigen in the sample as compared to the assay wells with labeled antigen alone. So this kind of ELISA is used in some cases, but not in a plant virus detection. We don't use this. So what are the ELISA plates? ELISA plates are which are used for binding an antigen, or where basically all this protocol is being done in the ELISA plate. We put antigen, we put antibody, number of the washing steps, and at the end, the detection also. So these are the ELISA plates, micro plates, and they are made up of the polystyrene, which can bind these proteins easily, right? So clear polystyrene flat bottom plates are used for colored reaction at the end, while black or a white opaque plates are used for a fluorescent or a chemiluminescent signals. So visually, this is the general practice, that whenever we get such plates, we should inspect the plates, that they should not be any scratch or there should not be anything inside them. So that will somewhere interfere with the signals that will be produced at the end. So that should be done, right? So substrates, as I told you, the TMB, it is tetramethyl benzidine, which an enzyme used for this substrate is Haus-Redis peroxidase, and there's a PNPP, it's a para-nitrophenyl phosphate, and enzyme is alkaline phosphatase. So these are the commonly used enzymes and the substrates. So TMB, a soluble substrate, yield a blue color when detecting HRP. The color then changes to yellow with the addition of a sulfuric or a phosphoric acid. So at the end, what we do, we incubate. The last step is the detection step. So we incubate those plates by adding those substrates at the end, and then after some time, maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes, we add some solution to stop the reaction so that no further color is being developed. It could be half an hour after or a 15-minute after, depends upon the protocols which is given. So color then changes to yellow when we add those sulfuric acid or phosphoric acid to stop, which is a stop solution with maximum absorbance at 450 nanometers. So TMB is very sensitive and it can produce a significant background signal if too much of a protein or antibody is used. And it is also more quickly oxidized than other HRP substrates, resulting in a faster color development. So all this process, this last step of developing color or substrate adding, it is being done in a totally dark place. And whenever we make a solution, also like we make a PNP, they come in the form of a tablet sometime or a powder form. We need to weigh them and then mix in some buffer. So we cover those tubes also, or also containers also, with aluminum foil, and all lights in that room are being closed. It should be preferably done in a dark places, right? Because otherwise they will start developing colors in response to the light, right? So para-nitrophenylene phosphate disodium salt is a widely used substrate for detecting alkaline phosphatase in ELISA application. It is a yellow water soluble reaction product that absorbs light at a 405 nanometer. So at 405 nanometer, we take a OD and we can see whether at the end result the virus is or a pathogen is present or not, right? So this is a diagrammatic representation of an indirect ELISA and a direct ELISA, right? So indirect ELISA, we have added the antigen first, we do the washing after that. When we add a specific antibody to be measured, then again washing, then enzyme conjugated secondary antibody, and then the absorbance. We add a substrate to see whether our, there's some virus is or not, to check that. And then direct, we antigen is coated by some, it is directly coated. I mean, see, we put the antigen, we incubate it 37 degrees Celsius for 1 hour or 2 hours, or we keep it overnight at in the refrigerator. So these are the two methods of incubation which are being used in the ELISA, right? Then we add a labeled antibody which is enzyme linked, and the substrate is being added, right? So these are the ELISA methods that are commonly used. What is difference between direct ELISA and an indirect ELISA? What are the different substrates that we use in the ELISA, and how a reaction is being generated at the end, right? So usually what we do, we use a 96 well plate. Side wells are kept empty because there are sometimes edge effect, or some side wells, there is some kind of interference, incubation is not properly. So all side wells will leave as such, and then we'll make a chart on a paper according to those wells, that where we'll put a positive control, where there should be just buffer, and there should be a negative control. So two wells for a positive control, two wells for a buffer, and two wells for a negative control. And then we add our samples in a triplicate. For example, if there are 5 samples I want to test for a presence of a virus, for each sample I'll enter 3 times. So 5 into 3, 15 wells I will add my samples. So each samples, they are done in a triplicate, because we always take an average reading which will come in all the 3 wells. So this is how it is being performed in the lab, or in that research experiment it is being done, right? So this is all about ELISA, and I have one ELISA protocol Word file with me. So that this is basically a double antibody sandwich ELISA protocol which was being done, and there are the buffers also. Like, see, usually what happens these days, ready-made kits come, so all the buffers, everything we get in a kits, right? But sometimes if like we want to save some money, like it is not used for a teaching purposes, or it is used for teaching purposes, not for research, so we can make buffers ourselves also. Like in our time, we used to get only enzymes and antibodies, and the positive controls we used to get from the kit. Otherwise, the buffers we used to prepare ourselves. So, how to prepare those buffers? What is the composition of a wash buffer? What is the composition of a coating buffer? Then, in which buffer we dilute the enzymes, and in which buffers we dilute the antibodies and blocking. So, there's a proper uh, buffers which were being made, and those buffers were being used. But these days, the buffers, they come with the kit only, so we don't need to make any kind of a buffer. But since you guys are going to write this practical, so I want you to write the buffers also, composition of the buffers, requirements, and the methodology which is being followed, protocol. So let me share this. Just a moment. Let me save this. I'll share this file in the Teams, so that you can take help from this file to write your experiment. Just a moment. आपने लास्ट प्रैक्टिकल कर लिया है? Okay, so I have updated it there. And see, for a last practical also, I'll create an assignment so that you can submit your last practical also. So in the meanwhile, I'm creating another assignment. All of you submit your practical here so that I can check it right now. And in the meanwhile, for the second practical class, you will write this practical and submit it today itself, right? So I've given you the protocol also, that how to write and how to do it. So I'm still here. If you feel there are certain, you still feel that there's some confusion, you can ask me. So I'm creating one assignment for the last class practical. What was the last class practical?
PCR.
PCR, right? Practical PCR. So in the PCR assignment, submit your PCR, and there's one practical which is created for today. Check. I've uploaded the Word file also, so use that Word file and write in your own words what would be the protocol, what would be the buffer composition. I've mentioned everything there, right? So you can just see, take an example of any plant virus. You can choose any plant virus and use those plant virus that you're going to detect. So antibody, instead of an antibody, you use the antibody for Prunus necrotic ring spot virus. I've written a Prunus necrotic ring spot virus, but you can select any virus of your own choice and then write a protocol according to that, right? Protocol I've mentioned already. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there are, just let me see. So if you want to take a short break, 5-10 minutes, I'm still here. You can go and you can join in a 10 minute, and then you can start writing your practical work. But this I'll continue the you can join back in the same session, right? Yes, students, have you submitted? The older practical PCR one, I don't see actually.
Ma'am, I submitted it a while ago.
Okay, let me check. Manaswani, practical PCR. Manaswani submitted, yes. Manaswani submitted, and I guess only Manaswani submitted, no one else, right? So आपने ये submit नहीं किया, आपने किया नहीं है practical. Other students, please. What about ELISA practical then? वो तो किसी ने, कुछ लोगों ने तो देखा भी नहीं है, I guess. राइट, कुछ लोगों ने क्या, मैक्सिमम ने देखा भी नहीं है, टर्न इन करना तो बहुत दूर की बात है. So please by evening submit these both practicals, otherwise you are not going to get attendance. One class attendance I'm going to deduct for today's class. So, and last time also I told you, and this time you got 2 weeks to do your this PCR practical, because last week we were doing exam. So PCR we did last week, so you got enough time. And please submit it before 5, because it's by that time I'll mark attendance, right? So if I don't see any PDF file uploaded, you are not marked for today's class. Make sure you submit today itself, right? Okay, for attendance, switch on your cameras. Adhish Mishra, Athoiba, Ayushi Jan, Sam,
Present, ma'am.
Devanshi,
Present, ma'am.
Ishita,
Present, ma'am.
Manaswani,
Present, ma'am.
Namrita, Nehal,
Present,
Rupal,
ma'am.
yeah, Rupal, Sahiba,
Present, ma'am.
Sanjana, Shakti,
Present, ma'am.
Shivani, Tanvi,
Present, ma'am.
Tridev, Vivek, Yukta, Yuvraj.
Present, ma'am. Present.
Ma'am, you
skipped me, Janvi.
I'm present.
Vivek. Yes, Yuvraj.
Yes, ma'am.
Yukta, where
I'm
is
also
Yukta?
present.
Yeah.
Adish.
Yukta, I can't hear you, Yukta. Are you there?
Present, ma'am.
Okay, Yukta, she's there. Fine. So today itself, submit these practical, both the practicals, right? So after that, I'm gonna give you the attendance also. Fine. So okay, I'll stop the meeting here.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Janvi.
Ma'am, you skipped me.
Oh, Jan, but I saw you actually. That's why I said it. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. I'm also present.
Adhish. Okay, Adhish.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. I've also published tomorrow's discussion topic. So tomorrow we are going to discuss on Spanish flu pandemic that happened in 1918, right? So we'll start with those students who have not participated in the last time, and then we'll move to those students जिन्होंने last time भी participate किया था, right? Fine.